The sound cracked through the busy car park like thunder. Olivia Anderson's head snapped round. Nigeria's most famous single mom and billionaire CEO had just been slapped in the face by a strange, rough hand in front of cameras, guards, and a sea of shiny cars at the Lagos International Conference Center. For one silent heartbeat, time froze. Then it cracked. A bullet tore through the glossy black SUV door, where she had been standing a second earlier. Glass exploded into bright flying stars. People screamed. Security guards ducked. Someone yelled, "Down! Down!" Another shot whizzed past her ear and hit the wall behind her. The same man who had slapped her, a man wearing a tattered brown coat and sporting messy hair and an overgrown beard, yanked her wrist and dragged her behind a concrete pillar. Olivia stumbled in her heels, her heart pounding so hard that it felt as though her chest would burst. "Stay low," the man whispered. His breath carried a hint of dust and rain. Two things hit Olivia at once. The first was a sting in her cheek. The second was the truth that this stranger had just saved her life. A third shot rang out. It was far away now. Shouts scattered across the car park. Doors slammed and engines roared. Somewhere, a woman cried. Olivia turned and finally saw the man's face, tired and lined, but strangely calm. He had a dirty old bag slung over his shoulder. The strap was frayed and the fabric was as thin as paper. "Who are you?" she breathed. "You'll understand," he replied. "Please get back in your car now." He didn't shout. He didn't beg. He just looked at her with steady eyes that seemed to carry too many secrets. He guided her toward the driver's side in a low voice. One of her guards leapt up to cover them. Another scanned the rooftops, finger pressed his earpiece and lips moving fast. The stranger slid into the passenger seat before anyone could protest. Olivia's fingers trembled as she grabbed the steering wheel. Her driver was nowhere to be seen. Her lead guard banged the bonnet twice. "Go!" Olivia pressed the push-to-start button. The engine started smoothly and sounded deep. She shot a quick glance at the man. "Seatbelt." He fastened it, remaining calm. Olivia's heart thumped in her ears as the SUV glided out of the parking space and into the service lane. A fourth shot cracked behind them. Farther away this time, and then the wild chorus of sirens began to rise. "Love," the man said quietly. "Avoid the main gate." Olivia turned left. They slipped into a narrow exit road lined with palm trees and low hedges. A security truck was blocking part of the lane. She swerved around it, feeling the tires grip. The noise of the city rolled in, honking horns, the rush of traffic, and a giant billboard with her own face smiling down on her. Olivia Anderson, keynote speaker. She swallowed. The woman on the billboard looked fearless, but the woman in the driver's seat did not feel fearless at all. They merged into traffic. The conference center fell behind them. Only then did Olivia find her voice. "Start talking," she said, trying to sound strong, even though her hands were shaking. "Who are you? What just happened back there?" The man lifted his eyes to the rear-view mirror, checked behind them, and then slowly turned to face her. "My name is Simon," he said. "I'm sorry about the slap." Olivia let out a short, shaky laugh. "You slapped me, a stranger, in public." "I did," he said, because the bullet was already coming. The words hit her harder than the slap had. She could feel the sting on her cheek again, but this time it felt like a mark of mercy. "How did you know?" Simon looked out the window at the passing buses, the street hawkers carrying bowls of chilled water, the yellow Danfos squeezing through impossible spaces. His jaw moved as though he was chewing on a painful memory. "I heard them last night," he said. He said there were two men on the flyover near the Eco Hotel. They were talking about a clean opening, the parking lot, and timing. One of them said that the target would stand by the back door of a black SUV before walking to the side entrance. "That's what you did." Olivia's skin prickled. "You expect me to believe you just happened to overhear a plan to kill me?" "I didn't just overhear," Simon said. "I listened." They kept saying, "If she steps out and looks right, take the first shot. If she hesitates, take the second." I didn't sleep. I stayed where I could see the center. I prayed that you would hear me if I called out. When I saw you step out, I shouted, "Go back!" You didn't hear me. A gun was raised on the roof across the street. I had no time to think. So I slapped you to turn your head and move your body. That's all I could do. There was silence in the SUV for a moment, heavy and real. Olivia blinked away hot tears. She had built companies, created jobs, raised her little boy alone, and confronted boardrooms full of men who didn't think she belonged. But she had never come so close to losing it all. "Thank you," she said, her voice small and raw. Simon nodded once, as if thanks felt too big for that cramped space. They reached an intersection. A traffic light flashed red. Olivia pressed the brake. Cars bunched around them. A hawker held up bottles of cold water to the window. Olivia waved him away with a soft shake of her head. "Why are they after me?" she asked. Simon kept watching the mirrors. "I don't know any names," he said, but one of them said arrival once the stage was set and the stock had dropped before the end of the quarter. He said no CEO, no speech. The panicked board will beg for a new plan. He paused. They also said that she walks as if she owns the ground. Olivia almost smiled. "That sounds like me." "It is you," said Simon. Green light. She pulled forward. "You need to call the police," Simon added. "Tell them exactly where the shots came from." "I will," she said. "Go straight there." But she did not turn toward the closest station yet. She needed a moment to catch her breath and feel her heartbeat slow down. She needed to know more about the stranger who had just saved her life. "Simon," she said, "tell me about you." He didn't answer at first. He kept his eyes moving. Left mirror, road, right mirror. He seemed to have learned to live by looking around corners. When he finally spoke, his voice was quiet and steady. "I wasn't always like this," he said, touching the dirty sleeve of his coat. "I was a bank manager in Victoria Island. Numbers were my friends. I did well, maybe too well. Some men didn't like that. They said I made them look stupid." Olivia listened, her hand steady on the wheel. "One day, an account moved money it shouldn't have," Simon continued. "Someone used my login. By the time I found out, the money had disappeared. They said I planned it. My own friend signed the papers. I was fired. Then I was arrested. I kept saying, 'Check the cameras, check the access times.' But no one listened. I spent months in prison. When the case was dropped because the real thief had covered his tracks, I was released. But I had nothing left. No job, no home. No one wanted to employ a man with that stain on his record. So I carried this bag and tried to disappear." His fingers touched the frayed strap again. A small, sad smile tugged at his mouth. "But I couldn't disappear today." Olivia's throat tightened. The city rolled by, billboards, street sellers, and the bright stripes of cake and nap zipping between cars. She thought of her son, David, waiting for her at home with his nanny and his favorite football. She thought of the speech she was supposed to give about courage and building trust in hard times. Maybe today was the real speech. "Simon," she said, "you are not invisible. Not to me." He nodded, but his eyes flicked to the mirror again, sharp and alert. "They might follow," he said. "Who? The same men or new ones?" Olivia checked her own mirror then, and her stomach dropped. 2 motorbikes had entered the lane behind them. Both riders were wearing black helmets with dark visors. They weren't weaving like normal bike riders. They held a straight line. They kept the same distance. "Do you see them?" she whispered. "I do," said Simon. "What do we do?" "Breathe," he replied softly. "Keep driving. Don't rush. Don't look scared. We'll turn off before they can box us in." Olivia tried to breathe. In, out, in, out. She thought of the slap, the glass bursting in the pillar that had kept her alive. She thought about how close she had come to never seeing her son again. Her phone buzzed. It was her head of security. "Are you safe?" Another message. "Do not return. Stay in motion. Police en route." She typed with one hand. "Eyes on the road. I am safe with a witness." "Possible tail. Next exit," said Simon. "Then turn right. There's a service road with cameras at the station." They took the exit. The bikes glided closer. The narrow, quiet service road was lined with small shops and a white wall topped with broken glass. A metal gate stood, half open up ahead. Olivia eased towards it. Suddenly, one of the bikes sped up. "Don't stop," Simon said calmly. "Roll through slowly, but don't stop." Olivia's mouth felt dry. She rolled through the gate. A security guard wearing a faded blue shirt raised his hand to wave, but then he noticed the bikes. His eyes widened. The first bike slipped through behind them, smooth as a shadow. "Down," Simon said, his voice still level but urgent now. "Olivia, get ready to duck." Her heart hammered, and her cheek still stung. The world narrowed to the lane ahead, the bike in the mirror, and the sound of her own breath. Then a new sound cut the air, the sharp wail of the siren approaching from the far end of the service road. The bike's visor tilted. The siren grew louder and closer, and a blue light flashed rapidly. "Simon!" Olivia whispered, not knowing whether she was praying or asking a question. He didn't answer. He was looking past her, his eyes fixed on something she couldn't see, something just beyond the bend. Suddenly, a black van emerged from a side gate and blocked half the lane in front of them. The bike behind them revved. Olivia's foot hovered over brake. "Now," Simon said, his voice low and fierce. "Whatever you do, don't stop." The black van blocked half the lane ahead. The bikes closed in behind them. Olivia's hands froze on the steering wheel for a moment, then gripped it so tightly that her knuckles turned white. Her foot hovered over the brake. But Simon's voice cut through the storm in her mind. "Whatever you do, don't stop." Her chest squeezed. "Simon, go, Olivia." His tone was firm, leaving no room for fear. She pressed the accelerator. The SUV roared, heavy and powerful, devouring the short stretch of lane. The van jerked forward, trying to block the road completely. Olivia aimed for the narrow gap between its bumper and the wall. Metal screeched as the side of the SUV scraped the wall. Sparks flew, but they shot through. Behind them, the first motorbike clipped the gate post and spun sideways, throwing the rider into the dust. The second bike swerved wildly before steadying itself, its engine growling like a predator. "Good," Simon muttered, steady but alert. "Keep moving." The siren behind them was growing closer. A police car sped down the service road, its lights flashing. The motorcyclist glanced back, then swerved behind Olivia's SUV, determined not to be shaken off. Olivia's breath came hard and shallow. She had faced hostile takeovers, court cases, and the cold loneliness of raising her son alone. But this raw fight for survival was different. The pain on her cheek flared up again, reminding her of how close she had come to death only minutes ago. "They won't stop," she whispered. "They'll keep coming." "Not if we lead them into the open," Simon said. "The police will catch them. Just trust me." There was something in his voice, calm, yet edged with steel, that made her nod without thinking. She veered left at the next junction, tires squealing, and entered a broad road where bike riders scattered, shouting curses. The biker pushed harder, drawing closer to the driver's side. Olivia saw him out of the corner of her eye. Black helmet, black jacket. One hand steady on the handlebar, the other reaching inside his coat. "Gun," Simon barked. Olivia's heart jumped into her throat. Before she could react, Simon rolled down his window without hesitating. He threw his battered bag straight at the biker. It smashed into the rider's chest, knocking him off balance. The gun clattered onto the tarmac as the bike wobbled and skidded, sparks flying. The rider tumbled onto the roadside. Gasps erupted from the onlookers. A child screamed. The sound of a police siren grew louder. Olivia's SUV kept rolling. Her breaths were ragged. "You threw your bag," she gasped. "You're on your own." "I'll get another one," Simon said. "I can't get another chance at life." His words silenced her. They carried a weight deeper than the chaos behind them. Finally, as they sped into a safer district, the police car overtook them and screeched to a halt at the fallen rider. Olivia slowed down, trembling, but kept going until the road widened and traffic forced her to merge. She parked by a petrol station, her chest heaving. For the first time since the slap, there was silence. All she could hear was a hum of engines, the faint honk of distant horns, and the hot Lego sun beating down. Olivia leaned her forehead against the wheel, trembling. "I should be dead," she whispered. Simon sat back, his empty hands resting on his lap. But you're not, he said softly. And that means something. Her eyes welled up. She turned to him and saw not just the mud-stained coat, the disheveled beard and the hollow eyes, but also the man who had risked his life for hers without hesitation. Why? She asked, her voice breaking. Why would you risk everything for me? A stranger, he replied, looking out the window as if the answer was written in the passing faces of hawkers and fuel attendants. His jaw tightened. Because I know what it feels like when no one stands up for you. I couldn't let it happen again. Not to you. Before Olivia could reply, her phone buzzed. It was her head of security again. We have captured one suspect. Others escaped. Conference canceled. Where are you? She quickly wiped her eyes and typed back. Safe with witness. Going to the police. She slid the phone down and looked at Simon again. You're not a stranger anymore. For a moment, their eyes met. Then Simon shifted and cleared his throat. You need to report this before they twist it around. You're powerful, he continued. But your enemies are powerful, too. She nodded. Yes, we're going to the police station. Her SUV rolled back into traffic. But deep inside, a question burned hotter than the Lego sun. Who wanted her dead badly enough to risk firing bullets in broad daylight at an international conference? The name of her rival echoed in her mind. Williams, the man who had tried to steal deals from her before. But was it him or someone closer? She didn't know yet. What she did know was that the homeless man beside her was more than just a savior. He was a mystery. And mysteries always came with truths that could shatter everything. Olivia wasn't ready for the truth. It was waiting around the corner. The police station buzzed like a restless hive. Officers moved briskly. Reports were piling up. Phones rang without pause. In the middle of it all stood Olivia Anderson, Billionaire CEO, with dust on her gown and broken glass glittering in her hair. Her cheeks were still red from Simon's slap. Whispers followed her, half in awe and half in confusion. After all, it wasn't every day that one of Nigeria's wealthiest women walked into the station, accompanied by a homeless man in a torn brown coat. Madam Anderson, please, this way, said the DPO, almost stumbling over himself in his respectfulness. He guided her into a private office. Simon followed. The moment the door shut, Olivia's composure cracked. She dropped into a chair and rubbed her temples. This is madness. My son could have lost his mother today. Simon stood quietly in the corner, his eyes scanning the room as though he trusted no walls. His tattered bag had disappeared. Without it, he looked strangely exposed, like a soldier stripped of his only shield. The DPO cleared his throat. Madam, we caught one of the attackers. He refuses to speak, but our officers found foreign bullets. This was no ordinary street crime. It was an assassination attempt. Olivia's eyes darkened. I know. The question is, who sent them? The DPO hesitated, glancing at Simon. Olivia noticed and lifted a hand. He stays. If not for him, I would already be dead. In the silence that followed, Simon's gaze softened briefly, then returned to its usual sharp alertness, that of a man who had learned to expect betrayal. The DPO nodded reluctantly. Very well, Madam Anderson. Do you suspect anyone? Olivia exhaled. A name danced on her tongue. Williams, her ruthless business rival who had tried everything. Legal battles, smear campaigns, and bribery, but never bullets in broad daylight. Was he truly that desperate? Her fingers tightened on the armrest of her chair. I have enemies, too many. Simon finally spoke, his voice low but steady. I overheard them yesterday. They mentioned your name, the conference, and something about a sniper on standby. That's why I came to you today. I couldn't let them succeed. Olivia turned sharply. Did you know you could have gone to the police? His laugh was bitter, almost hollow. The police? Do you think they would listen to a man who sleeps under bridges? I was a ghost to them. But you... His eyes locked onto hers. You were worth saving. Her breath caught. For a moment, she didn't see a homeless man. She saw a protector, a man who had been stripped by life, but was still standing. The DPO leaned forward. Mr. Simon, he said simply, For you to know such details, you must have been close to these men. Who exactly are you? There was a long silence. Olivia studied Simon's face, reading something hidden there, pain, regret, and a deep-seated secret. At last, Simon spoke in a barely audible whisper. I was once like you, madam, he said, a man with everything. I had a wife, a daughter, and a career at a bank, until one lie destroyed it all. They framed me, pushed me out, and by the time I had cleared my name, my family was gone. My wife remarried. My daughter doesn't even recognize me. The room fell silent. Olivia's throat tightened. She understood loss, the kind that slowly eats away at your soul. Simon's jaw clenched. Since then, I've lived on the streets, watching and listening, invisible. That's how I heard about today's plan. Tears stung Olivia's eyes. This man, rejected by society, had risked everything for her. Simon, she whispered. Before he could answer, the door burst open. A junior officer rushed in, panting. Sir, the suspect we caught swallowed poison before he could talk. He's dead. The DPO slammed his desk. Damn it! They silenced him. Olivia's pulse raced. Whoever wanted her gone was powerful indeed. They were merciless. Simon stepped closer to her. Madam, this is bigger than rivalry. Someone high up wants you dead. She lifted her chin, fire burning behind her tears, and then let them come. They don't know who they're dealing with. Even as she said it, however, her heart pounded with dread. If they could reach her at the conference, surrounded by guards, then nowhere was safe. The only person she could truly trust was the homeless man who had slapped her. That night, Olivia Anderson's mansion on Banana Island felt less like a home and more like a besieged fortress. Security guards paced the gates, rifles slung across their shoulders. Armed guards stood at every corner, their walkie-talkies crackling in the humid Lagos air. Inside, Olivia sat in her expansive living room, the glow of the chandelier reflecting off her gold bangles. But her hands trembled as she lifted a glass of water. Opposite her, Simon sat uneasily on the edge of a white leather sofa. His mud-stained coat and scruffy beard looked out of place among the polished marble floors and imported Italian decor. Her 10-year-old son, David, peeked from the staircase. Mummy, who is he? His wide brown eyes darted between Simon and his mother. Olivia forced a smile. David, this man saved my life today. You must thank him. David walked down slowly, his small feet patting against the rug. Thank you, sir, he said shyly. Simon's face softened, and for the first time, a hint of a smile touched his lips. You're welcome, my boy. But the fragile calm was shattered when Olivia's phone buzzed. An unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. A distorted voice filled the line. You were lucky today. Olivia, next time, your money won't save you. Walk away from the Seagate deal, or your son will pay the price. Her blood ran cold. Who are you? She snapped, but the line went dead. Her hand shook as she lowered the phone. Simon's sharp eyes studied her. What do they say? Olivia's lips trembled. It's not just me anymore. They threaten my son. Simon rose to his feet, despite his weary and scarred appearance. He suddenly exuded authority. Then you can't trust anyone, not even your guards. Whoever wants you dead has men on the inside. Her heart thudded painfully. She wanted to deny it, but she remembered how easily the van and the bikers had tracked her down earlier. Could someone in her circle be revealing all her movements? Simon paced the room like a caged lion. You said Seagate deal. That's it, isn't it? A contract so big that someone would kill for it. Olivia swallowed hard. It's a multi-billion-dollar oil pipeline. If I sign it, my company will control distribution across West Africa. That's enough to make dangerous enemies. Simon stopped, his dark eyes locking onto hers. Then the question isn't if they'll try again, he said. It's when. At that moment, there was a loud crash from the back gate. David yelped and clutched his mother's hand. Guards shouted outside. Short, sharp bursts of gunfire erupted, sending every nerve in Olivia's body into overdrive. Stay here, one guard shouted, rushing past the living room. But Simon grabbed Olivia's arm. "No, they want you. Staying here is a trap." Another round of shots split the night. The heavy iron gate groaned under the impact. David sobbed into his mother's gown. Simon's voice cut through the chaos. "Olivia, if you trust me just once more, take your son and follow me." Her eyes darted between the staircase, her son's terrified face, and the door where shadows moved. She had two choices: stay with her well-paid guards, who might already be compromised, or run into the night with a homeless man who had already risked everything for her. Her chest heaved. She made her choice. "David, hold my hand. We're leaving with Simon." Simon pulled open the servant exit, and the smell of smoke and gunpowder drifted in. "Quickly," he urged. They slipped into the darkness just as the gate collapsed with a thunderous crash. Armed men in black masks stormed in, their visors glinting under the security lights. The night had only just begun, and Olivia Anderson's life would never be the same. The humid Lagos night enveloped Olivia as she fled to the narrow alleyway behind her mansion. Her expensive anchor gown clung to her skin, torn from scraping against walls. She held tightly to her son David's hand, breathing raggedly. Gunfire rattled behind her like angry drums, and the screams of guards echoed through the night. Simon led the way. His formerly slouched figure seemed transformed. His shoulders were squared. His steps were swift, and his eyes scanned every shadow. He moved with the precision of a man who had lived too long in danger. With every frantic heartbeat, Olivia's trust in him deepened. They emerged onto a quiet street lined with abandoned shops. Simon pulled them into the cover of a broken kiosk. "We can't stay on Banana Island. They know every inch of this place. We're heading to the mainland. I know where we can hide." Olivia's chest rose and fell as she struggled to catch her breath. She looked at Simon, her hair loose and her cheek still red from the slap that had saved her life. "Simon, why are you still here? You could have left me to die like the others tried to." Simon's jaw clenched. "Because I know what it feels like to lose everything. If I can stop it from happening to someone else, even someone like you, then my life will finally mean something. David clung to Olivia's arm, his voice small. "Mummy, I'm scared." She kissed his forehead. "I know, baby, but we'll be safe. I promise." Even as she said it, she wasn't sure. Hours later, Simon led them to a dim safe house in Surulere, a one-room flat belonging to an old friend from the streets. The flickering bulb cast uneven shadows across the peeling walls. Exhausted but alert, Olivia sat with David in her lap. Simon paced. "They won't stop until they kill you or force you out of the Seagate deal," he said. "We need proof, something that ties us back to whoever is pulling the strings." Her phone buzzed again. This time it was her head of security, Mr. Day. She hesitated, but then answered. "Madam, are you safe?" His deep voice rumbled. "Yes," she whispered. "Good. Stay hidden. We'll find out who's behind this." But as he spoke, Simon froze, his sharp ears picking up on something in the man's tone. He snatched the phone and spoke into it. "If you care so much, AD, why did the attackers know exactly when Madam Anderson would arrive at the conference? Why did they storm her home so easily?" There was silence, then a click. The call ended. Olivia's eyes widened. "You think Ada?" "I don't think." Simon cut in, his voice hard. "I know he sold you out. He was probably paid off by your rival." Olivia's stomach turned. The man she had trusted to guard her son had betrayed her. The next morning, news channels were full of reports. Gunmen had attacked billionaire Olivia Anderson's mansion. Rumors swirled. Some said she had staged it for attention. Others whispered of debts and enemies. Watching the headlines, Olivia clenched her fists. They're already twisting the story. "If I don't fight back, they'll bury me alive." Simon's eyes burned with quiet fire. "Then let's fight. But we must fight smart. We'll set a trap they can't escape." Together, they hatched a plan. Olivia would announce a secret meeting with government officials to finalize the Seagate deal. Word would spread quickly. Aide would leak it to his employers. The killers would come, and this time, police officers in plain clothes would be waiting for them. It was dangerous, even reckless. But Olivia had no choice. 2 nights later, the trap was set at an abandoned warehouse near Apapa. Olivia sat inside a bulletproof car, her heart racing. David was safe at a relative's house under heavy guard. Simon stood by her side, calm despite the looming storm. The first black SUV arrived, its headlights slicing through the darkness. Armed men poured out of it, their faces covered by masks. At their center stood Ade, her head of security, his gun gleaming in the dim light. Olivia's chest tightened. Betrayal had a face now. "Bring her out!" Ade barked. Simon stepped forward, his ragged coat flapping in the wind. "If you want her, you'll have to go through me." Ade sneered. "You're a filthy beggar." He raised his gun. "You should have stayed under the bridge." Before he could fire, floodlights blazed on. Dozens of police officers emerged from the shadows, rifles raised. "Drop your weapons." The DPO thundered. Chaos erupted. Gunfire cracked. Men scattered. Some dropped their weapons, while others fired wildly. Olivia ducked behind the armored door and trembled. Simon lunged at Artie, tackling him to the ground. The gun clattered away. The 2 men wrestled fiercely, exchanging blows. Artie was strong, but Simon fought like a man with nothing left to lose. "You betrayed her." Simon roared, pinning him down. Artie spat blood. She was just another rich fool. "Men like me don't get loyalty. We take what we can." Simon's fist slammed into his jaw, knocking him out cold. Within minutes, the police had the remaining gunmen in custody. The echo of gunfire faded, replaced by the hum of victory. Olivia stepped out of the car, her heels crunching against broken glass. Her eyes met Simon's. "You saved me again." Simon wiped blood from his lip and panted for breath. "You don't owe me thanks. Just don't forget me." Days later, the Seagate deal went through. Olivia stood tall at the signing ceremony. Cameras flashed and reporters shouted questions, and the world saw a woman unshaken by danger. But behind the glamour, her thoughts kept returning to Simon. The homeless man who had slapped her, saved her, and exposed a betrayal that ran deeper than she could have imagined. That evening, she found him back at his usual spot under the bridge. He was sitting cross-legged, staring at the traffic, and looking smaller than she remembered. "Simon," she said softly. He looked up, startled. "Madam Anderson," she said, stepping closer. "Don't call me Madam. Call me Olivia." His eyes flickered with confusion. "You risked your life for me and my son," she continued, her voice thick with emotion. "I can't let you stay here, forgotten by the world. You deserve better." She reached into her handbag and pulled out a set of keys. "This is yours, a house and a second chance. If you want, you can have a job in my company as security chief. No one else has earned my trust like you." Simon's mouth fell open. For a moment, he couldn't speak. His eyes glistened. "Why me? You could hire anyone." She smiled faintly. "Because when the world turned its back on me, you slapped me back to life." Simon laughed through his tears and shook his head. "I slapped a billionaire, and she offered me a home. Who would believe that story?" "I would," said Olivia. "And now, so will everyone else." Weeks later, the newspapers ran a new headline: "Homeless Man Becomes Hero." After saving a billionaire CEO, Olivia and Simon stood side by side at a charity event to launch a foundation for the homeless. David clung to Simon's hand. He no longer saw him as a stranger, but as family. In the crowd, whispers spread, not of scandal, but of admiration. The billionaire's single mom and the homeless man. An unlikely pair, bound by fate, courage, and one unforgettable slap. For Olivia, life would never be the same. For Simon, life had finally begun again. And for Leros, it became a story that no one would ever forget. If you enjoyed this story, please share, and subscribe to our channel for more interesting stories.